All right, let's get right into it. In business, we are always talking about profit, right? Revenue, market share, the bottom line. But what happens when an organization's main goal isn't making money, but actually making a difference? We're going to dive into this really fascinating challenge of measuring performance in not-for-profit organizations, or NPOs. And that right there is the million-dollar question. For a nonprofit, success isn't something you can just find on a balance sheet. It's out there in the community it's trying to serve. So how in the world do we put a number on that? How do we prove to donors, to stakeholders, that an organization is actually delivering on its promise? That's exactly what we're going to break down.
So here's our game plan for today. First, we'll talk about what really matters when measuring NPO performance. Then we'll get our hands on the Essential Analyst's Toolkit, the 3 E's and ethics. After that, we'll apply all of it to a real case file on ABC Healthcare. We'll solve some exam-style questions together, and then we'll wrap it all up with a super quick recap. Let's do this.
Okay, so to properly analyze any NPO, you've got to have the right tools. And your secret weapon is the 3E framework. That's economy, efficiency, and effectiveness, all built on a solid foundation of ethics. This is really the core logic you're going to need for your SCMP exams, especially for telling the difference between two concepts people mix up all the time: efficiency and effectiveness.
First up is economy. The logic here is really simple. Spend less. It's all about being a smart, careful guardian of the money that donors have entrusted to you. So for the exam, the big question you need to ask is, are we getting all the resources we need? Supplies, staff, office space, at the absolute best price possible. The keywords you want to look for are things like lowest cost, discounted rates, or anything that points to cutting costs.
Next, we've got efficiency. So if economy is about spending less, efficiency is all about doing more with what you've got. The logic is all about productivity. Think of it as doing things right. Imagine a pizza shop that can make 20 pizzas in an hour. It's just way more efficient than one that only makes 10 with the exact same oven and staff. For an NPO, be on the lookout for phrases like streamlining processes or reducing wait times.
And that brings us to effectiveness, which you could argue is the most important E of them all. This is about doing the right things. See, an NPO can be super economical and incredibly efficient, but if it's not actually achieving its mission, then it's failing. It's all about the outcomes, not just the outputs. Keywords to watch for are all about impact, quality care, achieving objectives, or reducing disease.
And finally, the glue that holds all of this together is ethics. This is the absolute non-negotiable foundation. The logic is simple. For an NPO, trust is its most valuable currency. It's about operating with total integrity, protecting patient privacy, and making sure every single action is done responsibly. Seeing a code of conduct mentioned is a classic exam signal that an organization is serious about its ethical standards.
All right, enough theory, right? We've got our toolkit. Now let's see how it actually works in a real-world scenario. We are opening the case file on ABC Healthcare, a nonprofit that provides medical services to underprivileged communities. Time to put on our analyst hats. Okay, let's quickly scan the key facts here. ABC is focused on value for money. We see they've negotiated discounts, streamlined processes, hired top-tier professionals, and they run preventative care programs. Oh, and look at that. They've got a formal code of conduct. As I'm reading this, your brain should already be lighting up spotting clues for economy, efficiency, effectiveness, and ethics. And now for the main event. We're going to tackle the multiple choice questions from this caselet, one by one. But don't think of this as just a test. Think of it more like a hands-on workshop where we lock in our understanding of how to use this framework when the pressure's on. Let's get started. Question 1. We are on the hunt for a measure of efficiency. So what's our mental filter here? We're looking for something about productivity, making a process faster, or just doing more with less. Take a look at the options. Which one is about the process itself? And the answer is A. What's so great about this is how perfectly it links back to our definition. Streamlining is the poster child for improving a process to get a better output from the same input. In this case, it means treating patients more smoothly and quickly. That is the very definition of high productivity. Okay, on to question 2, and this one has a little twist. The answer has to check 2 boxes. It has to be a measure of both economy and efficiency. So we're looking for one action that does 2 things: saves money and improves the process. Which one of these options does both jobs? And the correct answer here is C. Let's break down why.
A digital system gets rid of a ton of paperwork. That's a huge efficiency gain, right? It just makes the whole admin process faster. But at the same time, less paper, less printing, less storage. That means lower administrative costs. And that's a direct economy gain. It hits both targets perfectly.
All right, question 3. Pay very close attention to that little word, not. We're looking for the odd one out, the one option that is not an example of effectiveness. Remember, effectiveness is all about doing the right things, achieving the actual mission. 3 of these are about the final outcome, 1 is just about the process.
Just to make this crystal clear, let's put these two side by side. Effectiveness is all about the quality of care and hitting those big goals, like reducing disease. Efficiency, on the other hand, is about the speed and productivity of the process itself, like cutting down wait times. Now, looking back at that question, options A, B, and C all have to do with the quality and outcomes of healthcare. But one option doesn't. The correct answer has to be D. Streamlining is purely an efficiency measure. Why? Because it's about the process, not the final outcome. Hiring great doctors or running disease prevention programs, those things directly affect the quality and results of the healthcare. That makes them clear measures of effectiveness. Streamlining is just about speed. Question 4 brings us back to our very first E, economic. This one should feel pretty straightforward. We are just looking for the action that is all about getting resources at the lowest possible costs. Scan those options. Which one just screams saving money? And of course, it's B, negotiating discounted rates. I mean, that's a textbook, picture-perfect example of economy. It's a direct move to lower the cost of your inputs without sacrificing quality. That's the core logic of the concept. It's a clear win. And our final question zooms in on that foundation, ethics. How did ABC actually formalize its commitment to ethical principles? Now be careful here, because a lot of these actions are ethical in nature, but only one of them represents a specific structural measure to make sure ethical behavior is the rule across the entire organization. And the answer is C. Establishing a code of conduct is the most direct way for any organization to bake ethics right into its DNA. It's not just about doing a good deed here or there. It's a documented standard that every single employee has to follow. That makes it a really powerful tool for governance. Fantastic work. We've taken the theory apart, and then we stress tested it against a real case. Now, to make sure these ideas really stick for your exam, let's do one last quick debrief. Think of this next slide as your personal high-yield concept flashcard. And here it is, all on one slide. Simple, right? Economy is about spending less. Look for lowest cost. Efficiency is about doing things right. Look for productivity and streamlining. Effectiveness is doing the right things. Look for quality and achieving objectives. And finally, ethics is all about doing things responsibly. The big giveaway is a code of conduct. So we cracked the case of ABC Healthcare, but this framework, this way of thinking, it applies absolutely everywhere. So my final question to you is this. When you look at the charities and community organizations in your own life, can you now spot the 3 E's and ethics in action? Because that's when you know you've truly mastered a concept. Thanks for joining me.